Special meeting of the Village Board, sitting as the Village's Zoning Board of Appeals for a public hearing for special use to allow the construction of a sanitary lift station with a maximum 35-foot pole with antenna will now come to order. If we could please have roll call.
Mayor Linda Soto.
Present.
Trustees Dernoski.
Here.
Priest.
Here.
Duberstein. Here. Barrett.
Here.
Daly.
Here.
And Walkington.
Here.
It is September 9th, 2014, and we are opening this at 7:04 p.m. We do have a quorum. If I could have a motion for approval of the agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Dernoski.
Aye.
Priest.
Aye.
Duberstein. Aye. Barrett.
Aye.
Daly.
Aye.
And Walkington.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, briefly before we go into the presentation of the project, I'd like to briefly explain the protocol of the public hearing. And if I could just ask for a quick show of hands of how many residents or business owners are here for the public hearing. All right, and are you familiar, let's raise hands if you're familiar with the public hearing process. Okay. What we have here is due to the widening of Washington Street, which we all very much want. We want to move traffic in Lake County. There is a need that Lake County DOT has to relocate a lift station, sanitary lift station, which is presently on the north side of the road. They would like to move it to the south side of the road on property they own. That property, though, happens to be within the Hainesville village limits. And according to our zoning, they require a special use permit in order to proceed with that project, which is why we're in the public hearing process. So notices have been sent, there's a process that legally is followed, and we're here so Lake County and their engineers and professional consultants can explain the project to us so that this board has an understanding of the project. When they are done with their presentation, and I ask you to wait until they're done, I will then ask the board and our professionals to present their questions and comments. When that has been exhausted, then we will move on to public comment. And I'm going to ask that you line up before the mic, and our clerk is going to explain part of that process momentarily, but you will state your name and address for the record, and then you will pose your question or state your comment. I do ask that if you are voicing a comment or opinion that's already been voiced, we still want to know, but you don't have to repeat the whole thing. You can say, I would like to reiterate that I feel the same way about that was stated earlier. That just keeps the process moving along. So our job is to listen. We will then close the public hearing. We do have a board meeting that follows. I invite you all to stay. We love when we have residents and an audience at our meetings. We will not be making a vote on this tonight. Our consultants will review and answer any additional questions we have and give us their recommendations, and we will vote at a future board meeting. Now that will most likely be as early as the next board meeting, which is in 2 weeks from today. So, I just want you to understand that how the board looks at these projects is our concern is that this will be harmonious and in accordance with our general objectives of our comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance, that it's designed, constructed, operated, and maintained so as to be harmonious with the existing or intended character of the general area or vicinity, and will not change the general character of the area. Obviously, we don't want anything that's going to be hazardous or disturbing to existing or future neighborhood uses, and that it will not cause substantial injury to the value of other property in the neighborhood which it's located. So, we take that very seriously, and I believe the county certainly does as well, and they have excellent consultants working for that. So with that, I'm going to give the floor to our village clerk and let her explain the notice requirement review.
Hi. If anybody wishes to speak tonight, please fill out a green form that's in the back, just so that we have your name and address on file. So you can do that. And we will administer an oath to everybody that wishes to speak, including all trustees and board members. The requirements by ordinance are as follows. You have to go through certain requirements to do a public hearing. A public notice has to be published not more than 30 days, not less than 15 days. Certified return receipt public notice letters mailed to property owners within 250 feet of the parcel at least 10 days before the hearing, but not more than 30 days. And the sign needs to be placed on the property at least 1 week before the hearing stating that there is a public hearing. So the notice of publication was published on Thursday, August 21st in the Daily Herald for 1 day. The certified letters were mailed on Wednesday, August 27th, and 46 letters were sent out. 36 return receipts were received. 10 have not been returned. And then the sign was posted on the property on Thursday, August 28th. So all the requirements for this public hearing have been fulfilled. Now, if anybody wishes to speak during the public hearing, can you please rise with me and raise your right hand and repeat after me? Does anybody in the back wish to speak?
Even if you think you want to speak, you can always
Just stand
have
up. I mean, we're just doing this as a group, so just if you want to stand up and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do swear or affirm to testify truthfully before the village board of the village of Hainesville during the hearing for the special use. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to turn over the floor for our petitioner. And they can take it away.
Good evening, everybody. As you can see, we have exhibits spread throughout the room.
I'm going to cut you off for a minute. You know what? Why don't you take the mic that comes
Sure.
out,
Sure.
and everybody can hear you, and we can get you in the room.
Sure. Okay, I'm going to start on this side of the room. My name is Mike Pine. I'm with Patrick Engineering. We're working on the design of Washington Street from Hainesville Road to Herion Way. And as Mayor Soka stated, we're here this evening because the county seeks to obtain a special use permit for a sanitary lift station that's being relocated as part of this project. So before we get into the details of the site, I want to provide an overview of the project. The west limit of the project is actually at Grandview Avenue, where we're tying into a recently reconstructed section of Washington Street that extends to Cedar Lake. We go all the way to Herion Way, where this contract will be, we go to Herion Way for this contract, where we'll be tying into a separate contract that will be constructed as part of a grade separation. The grade separation will be constructed beginning in 2015. The scope for this project that we're talking about today is we're widening from 2 lanes to 5. We're constructing retaining walls. There's going to be various drainage improvements, we're adding pedestrian accommodations, and doing some traffic signal modernizations as well. And with this project, we have this existing sanitary lift station on the north side, which is owned and operated by Lake County Public Works. And as a result of the widening and adding pedestrian accommodations, there is a conflict there, and there's a need to relocate the station. We determined that the best location would be on the south side of the road, and this location in particular is outside of the limits of the wetlands, the floodplain, and this entire parcel on the south side of Washington across from Highland Lake is actually owned by Lake County. It is located within the limits of the village, and it is zoned as residential, which is why we are here today seeking a special use permit. So now we'll head over there and discuss the proposed site.
Okay. I have 2 questions before before I move to the rest of the board. So you're saying that you will not have to do any wetland mitigation? There's no wetland area being disturbed with this project?
For the project there is, but not as a result of this project.
Not of this project, just this portion of the project, what you're looking for the special use for. Okay. And then the landscaping that's being put in, who will maintain the landscaping?
Lake County Public Works.
Now, when we met before, it was my understanding that you hired landscape contractors for these types of projects.
Yes, Mayor. My name is Peter Cole. I'm the director of the Public Works Department. We're going to be maintaining and operating the lift station. Yeah, that's correct. We do have an outside consultant, or a contractor, I should say, that does our landscaping. They are well qualified. They take care of all of our sites. They do a very good job. And as a matter of fact, anytime we get any kind of complaints or if there's anything out there that's unsightly, we go and take care of it immediately.
On that note, that whole property that the county owns, that I call it the horseshoe, the bike path, which is very pretty, but I will tell you, on and off over the years, we have had issues where residents have been unhappy, and I have to say rightfully so at times, of the maintenance of that area. And I sympathize that Lake County Public Works itself is spread thin. So my hope is, I think this is nice. I'm thrilled to hear that a landscape contractor will be maintaining it. In addition, can we get that area cleaned up and kept a better eye on?
Well, I'm going to pass the baton here to Emily.
Okay.
My name is Emily Carey. I'm the Director of Planning and Programming for Lake County Division of Transportation. So the property, the overall property, is maintained by the Division of Transportation. And you are correct in that we mow the area a few times a year. Certainly, I can have a conversation with the county engineer and with our maintenance department to see if there's something else that we could do. I know that we mow a few times a year out there, and you have expressed to me before your concerns about that area. I do know that it's meant to be natural looking, and it's not meant to all be mowed. There are wetlands and special plants in there that we need to be careful.
Absolutely, and we respect that, because this village has, for the size we have immense amount of wetlands and ponds. And we pride ourselves in the restoration that we've done. You know, in Cranberry Lake is a prime example of the restoration project that we did there. So here's my other thought. It is not just a wetland area, it's almost a park-like setting, because we have the bike path that goes through there. And while we love the bike path and we want it used, what comes along with that is garbage, debris, occasional partying. And our public works does go in there and check it time to time, especially if we get a call, but it's those types of issues. So it isn't just a wetland. It is a park that's frequented. So with that, I'm going to move on to the rest of the board and or staff. Trustee Daly? Mike?
No, Chair. I couldn't let that go. The SCADA pole. In one of your drawings, you have a nearby telephone pole. Can your communication device be placed on top of the telephone pole, eliminating the need for a 35-foot pole coming up directly from the site?
It certainly could. We could investigate that if that's a desire, and see if the owner of the pole will allow us to put our antenna on there. We can certainly look into it.
Is it a wireless connection, or is
No,
it?
there's a wire that comes from the antenna down to the site, so we would, and it would need to have a power.
Just a thought. And the second, maybe final question for me. I noticed that the site has a vent pipe. Is there going to be an odor emanating from this?
Well, you're right. The vent pipe, if there is any odor, we have charcoal canisters that we can install on the unit to prevent any kind of odor. We don't have any odors on the north side. I would not anticipate any odors on the south side of the pipe. This lift station takes care of about 65 homes right now. It's not very large. You're not going to hear it. You won't smell it. And if you do smell it, we'll be out there to do something about it.
Thank you.
Trustee Duberstein?
Thank you for coming. I'm the chairman of the Wetlands, Open Space, and Woodland Committee for the village. And as Linda said, we've been doing a lot of restoration. And we have a long-range plan that we want to remove all the invasive species from all of the, well, we call them open spaces, but they're really woodlands. And so even though you want to keep things natural, there are a lot of invasive species in there that really should be removed. And I'm wondering if that's something that you could include as part of this project, or if there's something that you could do to work with us so that that area could be maintained.
This is Emily Carey with Lake County Division of Transportation. Certainly we can look into that with the village. I do not think that that can be included as a part of this project at this time, but certainly we can talk with you about that and in the future of working on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board or staff?
The access driveway.
Wait, Trustee Waddington?
Yes.
All right, then use the mic.
It's on.
You gotta talk, you gotta get closer to it here, you gotta hug it.
The access driveway, is that emergency only, or because it's going across the bike path? Or somebody have to go in there?
That's the way we're going to get into the lift station. If we have to remove any of the pumps, we have trucks with boom cranes on the back to pull out the equipment. We have to get to those cabinets. With the supervisory control and data acquisition pole, we can remotely monitor the station. In the event that there's no power, we'll get that signal and then we'll come out with a generator, which we will then bring up to the site and hook it up. There's no generator going to be located at the site, but it's a trailer-mounted unit. And in the event that we lose power, we'll bring a trailer out.
Well, I understand that, but is this going to be somebody going in there daily across the bike path from the entrance, or is it just there in case of emergency?
We will visit the site once a week for 15 minutes.
Is there a certain time of day that you tend to do that?
Anywhere from 7 to 3:30.
Okay, fair enough. Any other questions from the board or staff?
I'm sorry, one question is,
Okay, Trustee Daly?
I'm sorry, are there any safety concerns to the general public for the areas that they could reach, touch, grab, manipulate at the top of this? I mean,
We've got
anything we need to worry about?
not at all. We have we have about 75 of these lift stations. The cabinet, the control cabinet is a stainless steel unit. It's locked, and the hatches are also locked, so it's not readily accessible.
And I'm going to ask another question because I know people in the audience are interested in this. I'll make a statement, please disagree with me if I'm wrong. One, this will cost Hainesville nothing. Yes. We've already established that it probably won't smell. If it does, you fix it. This will not affect our taxes, our property taxes, or individual taxes in any way.
It will not.
The only thing the village of Hainesville is really doing here, since Lake County owns the property, is providing this special use permit.
That is correct. The construction of this lift station is fully funded by Lake County, meaning the DOT and Public Works, and will be Public Works to maintain.
And you bring up a good point. I'd like to remind particularly everybody in the audience that understand that we have the reverse role at times where we as a municipality and our neighboring municipalities have to go to the county to ask permission, and we put things in their right of way. So it works both ways. We certainly want to protect our village and our residents, but this is intergovernmental cooperation. This is how projects get done. So we want everybody's best interest certainly to be looked at, but this is not all that unusual. I will say it's more unusual in the sense that You will see a lot of lift stations, and we have our own in town. And I was going to ask Greg Ward, our village engineer, and Jeff Gately, our lift station on List Drive,
Yes.
which is right, not a neighborhood, between two houses with an access drive. Is that really much different than what's happening here as far as what Jerry just asked about people being able to touch it and not be hurt? Or
Exactly. It's a very similar installation. Actually, List Drive probably has a service area about 3 times what this particular lift station has. There's no water control on the List Drive lift station. There is a backup generator, Devin?
There is, it's located inside the wellhouse.
This particular one doesn't have a backup generator, which is a good thing, and they would use a portable unit for the particular installation. So yeah, it's very similar to this drive.
And just for the public, a good lift station to look at that's in our town is on List Drive, and it is just south of Hunter's Way. So if you're not familiar with that part of the community, that's in Deer Point Trails. I suggest you drive by. It gives you an idea. I live a block away from there, and so I and many families and our kids have all been over there over the years, and it's landscaped, but not nearly as nicely as this, so maybe I'll get pressure to do that later. Trustee Duberstein?
We don't have an antenna like this on our lift station, do we?
No.
Then why do you need that antenna?
This is part of our modernization, to be more efficient and to use less manpower instead of driving out to the lift station 3 times a week, checking and responding to emergency calls. We're going to get that information right at the Lake County Public Works site. We will be able to remotely monitor the station. If somebody accesses the site, breaks in, if we lose power, if the wet well gets too high, the pumps fail, we're going to get that notification right away, and then we can take care of it immediately.
Al, did you have a question?
I don't have a question after the public comment. I do have some comments in regard to the standards you mentioned when we started.
Okay, so we'll wait till after public comments then.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, is there any other comments from trustees, board members, staff? Okay, trustee Crease?
When, say something happens to the pumps and everything else, what's usually like the minimum time? Because once you won't have to open up these vaults, you are going to have a choice in order from there at that point, aren't you? Wouldn't you be getting? What would be the time for a maintenance standpoint as far as either replacing the pump, and how much exposure would the residents around there be exposed to that odor at that time?
Well, this is a dual pump station, and you always have one as a backup. So in the event that one goes down, you always have that backup. If there is a problem, our staff is equipped to remove the pump in a very short time. These are submersible pumps. They're on a slide wheel. You pull them out, you take them into the shop, you fix them in the shop, and then you bring them back. So minimal time.
Minimal amount of time, okay, just, hours or whatever, and also just...
Yes, within an hour probably.
Okay.
Okay, at this time, we're going to move to public comments. Anybody that would like to ask a question or make a comment, please step forward to the mic. Not one?
You can fill it out when you're done speaking. You can come up.
Come on up and state your name and address for the record.
Sure. I'm Kelly Anderson. I'm at 356 Deer Lake Drive. Just one question. I appreciate the explanations very much. Has there ever been any kind of an emergency situation with a lift station before? And if so, what would something like that be? And again, how would that?
What's that like? It's a
actually happen? I just don't know a lot about it, so I appreciate it.
Did you wish for me to respond now?
Yeah, why don't you grab the mic?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, so we've had some issues at the existing lift station. We've had some backups. There were some plugs in the line. What happens then is, once we know about it, we have a vacuum truck. We have a truck that comes out and actually vacuums out the lift station so that there's no overflow, no unauthorized discharging. So those types of things happen. However, this is going to be a new lift station. We now have this remote monitoring capability. We'll be able to respond in a much quicker fashion.
And if I could add to that, I'm going to look at Jeff Gately, our Public Works Superintendent. Things do happen with lift stations, but as they just stated, this is a brand new one, so we would certainly hope that it would operate well for some time. But Jeff, can you just give a couple examples of what we had to do, like with our...
Yeah, we actually, several years ago, had an incident where we had a sanitary backup at our lift drive station. And every station is equipped with this. There's floats within the wet wells. And what happens if the float gets to, if the level gets to a certain point, it's going to trip an alarm, which is going to give us a fair amount of time to be able to get out there to respond to it before there is any type of sewage that is flowing around the whole area. With a couple of backups that we've had over the years, we have never had any sewerage leak out anywhere. Everything has always been contained within the wet wells of the particular lift station. So their technology is actually better than what we currently have here. All of our stuff is through phone lines and dialers. So the wireless is actually the latest and the greatest stuff you could hook up to.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, then Al Maiden, our village planner, I'm going to give you the floor, Al.
Thank you, Mayor. At the start of the meeting, the mayor mentioned some of the standards that are very typical in these types of zoning requests. One is the relationship to the village's comprehensive plan. This village's comprehensive plan, prepared in 2010, shows this site, subject site, as open space and public use. It includes the area to the east of the special use location and the area to the south. To the north, it just shows, the Washington Street corridor. And then the abutting property to the west is shown as single-family residential. So that's what's looked at for the future land use, and basically that is the existing land use. As far as the zoning is concerned, the R1 single-family district does list this type of use as a allowed utility use, subject to a public hearing, subject to the board's review, and subject to their approval. The standards do permit up to a 35-foot height structure, so they're not asking for additional variance, they're just asking for the special use approval. One of the other standards is how does it relate to the character of the area, and would it change the character from a land use planning standpoint? This site takes its character and access primarily from Washington Street, from the external roadway. The property to the west, the single-family residential neighborhood, really takes its character more from the local residential streets, not directly from Washington Street. So this site can be looked at as being just on the edge, external to the residential neighborhood. The other standard, looking at if there's anything hazardous or existing to the future uses, I believe they've addressed that in the questions in regard to safety from the trustees and the responses from the applicant. And then the last standard that's typically looked at is, will it have a substantial injury to property values? Now, from a planning and zoning standpoint, we look at the injury to property values from the standpoint, would it change the use of the properties in regard to their existing use or their shown future use on the comprehensive plan. We are not appraisers. We don't get into like a dollar amount that, it's going to have a $100 impact one way or the other on it. We look at it from a planning standpoint and a use standpoint. Looking at the fact that this subject property is on the exterior of the residential neighborhood, and it does take its character from Washington Street. It is shown on the comprehensive plan for open space and public use. It really will not change the character or ability to use the subject site or the adjacent sites to the east and south for the uses shown on the comprehensive plan. And for the property to the west, which is shown on the comprehensive plan for single-family residential, and is currently used for single-family residential, because that's interior to that residential neighborhood, I would not anticipate from a planning standpoint that there's going to be any impact on the value to change that use and suddenly say, I can't use it for single-family, I've got to come in and zone it for a business park or a shopping center or something.
No.
It's pretty much going to stay the same type of land use, and it's not going to have that impact from a planning and zoning standpoint. And I believe that covers the typical planning and zoning standards for this type of use request.
And again, to preserve that residential and also the park-like setting, that's why we do stress the landscaping issue. Is there any final comment? Greg, do you have any comment?
No.
Okay.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes, you may. Trustee Daly.
Just looking at some of the other sites and knowing my career was spent around teenagers, I see a 35-foot pole as a temptation for somebody to vandalize, climb, hang things from, whatever. Are any of your sites enclosed, fenced, and
Some of our sites are fenced, and we found that that was even an attraction to people getting over the fence, doing whatever they want on the other side of the fence where you can't see them. So we have recently been taking fences down, and we found that it's much more, if you can see them, you're not going to be.
I agree. You can see him.
okay, then I would only encourage you to follow up on my prior question about possibly mounting on a telephone pole just to remove the temptation, if that is possible. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions or comments.
One quick question, I just popped in my head.
Microphone. Trustee Chair.
What, when we complete the new one, if this is all passed and done, and the other one on the other side over in Washington, over by Highland Lake, what do you do with the old one? Just thinking from the public safety standpoint of, people, kids, weird things, is that like completely destroyed, filled in, so that these wet sumps and everything like that, or what do you guys do with the old one, right, once it's done?
Well, we're going to decommission the station. We're going to remove all of the mechanical equipment, the electrical equipment, and we'll turn that into a manhole. So the access point still, just like any other manholes that we get on our system.
Okay, it'll be security, yeah, I've seen weirder things happen. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no, Emily, do you have a closing comment or any closing comments from you or your? Okay, yes, absolutely, please.
I want to say thank you to the village board, village residents for the opportunity to present this information today and for your consideration. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you, and thank you. It was a nice set of pictures, I think, that was put together, so thank you for that. All right, I'd like to ask for a motion for adjournment of the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, public hearing is adjourned. We'll take a 2-minute break.
This first drawing is the proposed site plan for the sanitary lift station. I'll just describe some of the features of the site. So coming off of Washington Street on the south side, we have this existing bike path, which we'll be crossing with an asphalt driveway, which leads to the lift station itself. The lift station from ground level is, you would just see a concrete pad with a couple of hatches, and then above grade, there's a control box. In addition, you would see some bollards in front, and then we surrounded it with landscaping. The landscape architect's objective here was to provide a design that will provide screening to the residents of the west, but will still maintain the character of the area. And this was done by a row of junipers along the west side, which will reach a height of roughly 12 feet, and then a variety of other landscaping features. So behind the lift station, further south, we have a pole right here, which is it's a SCADA communications pole. And this pole is going to be somewhere in the range of 30 to 35 feet. It resembles like a light pole or a flag pole. And the purpose is to transmit communications from the lift station back to Lake County Public Works. So our landscape architect has also prepared a series of renderings of what the site ultimately is going to look like. So this first drawing is, if you're on the bike path, looking to the west at the sanitary site location. As you can see, with the proposed landscaping plan, the site's pretty well disguised. The next drawing is head-on. What we're trying to show with this one is which features are above grade. What can we see when we're passing by? You can see the bollards, the hatches raised a little bit, and then we have the control box, and then of course the skater pole. The next drawing is from the residents in the resident that's most closely located to the site. This would be the view from their backyard. There's actually a retaining wall just off of their property, so they're at an elevation higher than the site. So with this row of junipers and the other landscaping features, the site is pretty well disguised. The next drawing is actual pictures of the landscaping features that are being proposed. The rendering gives us an idea of what it's going to look like, but these are actual photographs of each of the landscaping features between the white oaks, the junipers, viburnums, dogwoods, and the prairie dropsy. And then the final exhibit, these are actual pictures of other Lake County Public Works of sites. This first one is actually the lift station that's located on the north side of Washington Street. This is the existing lift being relocated. So you can see it's not really very well disguised. It's fairly close to the road. I think it's set back maybe 18 feet, whereas the proposed one will be set back 55 feet. And then the next image gives us an idea of what the skate pole will look like. So again, it closely resembles a flagpole. Here's another one. You can see the antenna on top is very small. And then finally, this last picture is an image of what the control cabinet's going to look like that they have at another site. So along with me today, we have representatives from Lake County DOT, Lake County Public Works, and another engineer from Patrick Engineering, and we'll be happy to answer any questions